Hello, my sweet strangelings. Welcome to Supernatural Strange Sundays. Now, I posted a video a little over a week ago that I haven't followed up on it, so you're in for a treat. I'm going to reveal today what item is haunted off that video, but before we begin, I'm going to share with you guys a very scary story. Just kidding, just a paranormal story. I don't believe most of these stories are scary, but they are intriguing, entertaining, and it gets me reflecting on just life after death. And without further ado, let me go ahead and share with you guys this story that is very similar to what I'm about to share today regarding my experience at the Vulture Culture Oddity Shop. I've never considered myself superstitious, but there was something about this mirror at this bed and breakfast that gave me a very uneasy feeling. My partner and I had decided to spend a weekend away from the hustle and bustle of the city. I mean, honestly, a city is so busy and you can feel the energy of people that sometimes you just can't help but want to get away. Am I wrong for this? Absolutely not. So instead of going to another touristy place, I opted in for this little inn tucked away in the Louisiana countryside. From the moment we arrived, the atmosphere felt very cozy, yet slightly eerie, as if the walls held secrets of their own. Our room was charming with antique furniture and a four-poster bed that looked straight out of a period drama. Why am I thinking of Bridgerton? As I would go down the stairs and pass by the front entrance, I would see this mirror. We also had a mirror upstairs in our room, but this one felt really weird. Growing up, I had heard all of the superstitions about mirrors, how they could trap souls, how breaking one could bring years of bad luck, but had always dismissed them as old tales and things that I just grew up hearing, but never held to anything scientific or logical. Yet here in this plantation house, surrounded by the whispers of the past, those superstitions felt more real than ever. That night, as we lay in bed, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every creak of the floorboards, every shadow dancing in the moonlight seemed to be amplified by the presence of that mirror that I had walked past by earlier today. I tried to brush it off, attributing my unease to the unfamiliar surroundings, but deep down I knew there was something more to it. The next morning over breakfast, I couldn't resist asking the innkeeper about that mirror. She smiled knowingly, as if she knew I was going to ask that question, which made me feel even weirder, because how would she anticipate this? With a twinkle in her eye, she began to recount the tale of Sarah and the children who had met a tragic end in this very house centuries ago. According to the legend, Sarah had been a loving mother, devoted to her children and their happiness. When tragedy struck and the children were poisoned, their spirits became trapped within the walls of the plantation, forever haunting the place that they once called home. And it was said that their restless souls lingered most strongly in the mirror, their ghostly handprints leaving a chilling reminder of their presence. So as the innkeeper spoke, I felt a chill run down my spine. Were the children watching me? Was that what I was feeling? Did I know about that? Suddenly, the unease I had felt that night made way more perfect sense. It wasn't just my imagination playing tricks on me, it was the echoes of the past, reaching out from beyond the grave. And from that moment on, I couldn't look at that mirror without feeling a shiver of fear. Every reflection seemed to hold a glimpse of something otherworldly. That was the only thing that I felt was off, but needless to say, as we packed our bags to leave, I couldn't help but wonder what other secrets lay hidden within the walls of this haunted bed and breakfast. If you don't know and you didn't catch on, that story was very loosely inspired by the Myrtles Plantation in Louisiana. Now, I wanted to touch base on a couple of different things. That's one story, but I wanted to make a point here that according to that urban legend, or according to the Myrtles Plantation, the mirror, people have seen handprints. So I decided not to make a story based on the events of the dolls that you can find at the Vulture Culture Oddity Shop, because it is something more relevant today and present time, and I know the owner and the owner knows the family, so I wanted to be very respectful of that. So I instead talked about the Myrtles Plantation and the haunted mirror that resides there. Now, if you ever go to the Myrtles Plantation, you're not allowed to take photos of like the rooms and the tour itself and record it, you can only take photos of the area where the haunted mirror resides, allegedly. I'll post some stories. I'll post some pictures of it if I can, or maybe like a quick little like throwback on my Instagrams for you guys to check out. But with that being said, so about a week and a half ago, I had gone to the Vulture Culture Oddity Shop in Burbank, and I had been reached out to by the owner. She said that they have haunted items, so I'm like, all right. Me and my husband went. We had our little terrier Yorkshire dog. Sorry, I'm fostering her, so I'm still learning about the breed. I've had corgis up until recently, and I saw that she needed a home, so I decided to take her with me to the Vulture Culture Oddity Shop because she had just been in her home for a couple of days, and I did not feel comfortable leaving her alone just yet. So, while my mom stayed with the corgi and the other fur babies. But anyway, so we went there and we walked around. I walked into the shop, and one of the things that caught my eye was just the atmosphere. It's very much like this gothic, vintage esque shop with like these little oddities and nooks and crannies. And one of the big things, the elephant in the room that I haven't addressed yet, is the taxidermy mounts. So they're all over the shop, they're on the walls. And of course, if you're someone that doesn't like mounts, you probably won't like this. But if you're someone that's just interested of the macabre and the vintageness and those things, that you might find it interesting. Now, I will say this. A lot of people think that the owner hunts these animals down and mounts them. That's just simply not true. A lot of the mounts that are in the shop have been donated. She also had found at estate sales, or anything like people have messaged her and given her these items. So, just for your peace of mind, she did not kill these animals. But anyway, so my husband and I walked in. There was a manager there, and she's like, "Do you want me to tell you which item is haunted?" I said, "No. We want to walk around and we want to see if we can pick up what items are haunted." So we walked around the shop, and on the ceilings, there's like dolls, but they look like very much decorated haunted dolls that you would buy like maybe at a spirit Halloween store. And I'm not saying this to be disrespectful. I'm simply saying that you can just tell the vibes of the dolls, and I just didn't feel anything either in those. I went past the mounts, and I will say this. As a medium, I do feel the energy of these animals very faintly. It feels very much more like not human. And of course, it makes sense because these animals were animals, they weren't human. Feel the energy from that. And I walked around, and it's more residual energy. It's not like anything like intelligent hauntings or anything like that. I mean, there's different types of hauntings. Like I have like a meter, but because it's like a little mini episode this weekend, I will elaborate more at a different time because on Monday, my Mystic Mondays, I have another episode coming out on astrology and pop culture. So stay tuned for that. It's being posted tomorrow. And I saw a coffin and I saw these chairs, and I'm like, nope, it's not really this. This one chair close to this like drawer area, I feel something there, but it's not like the chair doesn't feel haunted, but I felt like something was like sitting on that chair looking at me from like behind me. And I was like, that's eerie. And I look down and I see two Raggedy Ann dolls on one side of the drawer because it has like the glass doors. And on the other side, there's like a monkey doll, like the little bell drummer thing. I don't know. And then there's another doll there. And I was like, okay, they all have energy. That's for sure. They all had energy. But I was like, the Raggedy Ann doll is just too much like Annabelle Conjuring franchise. Like, there's just no way it's going to be these dolls. But I did, my eyes kept going there. My spirit guides kept pointing the arrow. I'm like, are you guys not being specific enough? Are you guys? So I was like, okay, well, maybe it's not this. Maybe it's the other two dolls that are next to it. And my husband came up to me and he had like a backpack on with like the of our foster dog Cookie, which we may keep at this point. And she was in the backpack and she kind of started to like not growl, but she went like arf arf, like very much like soft, but she barked. And we looked at her, we're like, Cookie, it's okay. And I was like, oh my God. So my husband closed his eyes. We both closed our eyes, and I was just trying to help him like navigate through and just channel what we were picking up on. And my husband's like, well, I do feel energy where we're standing, like you do, Stephanie, but I see two bridges and a river underneath. And for context, when you are a medium, you can use different clairs, right? Obviously, I felt it. I was using more of my clairsentience. a little bit of a clear cognizance because I just knew to go back there. And he was using his clairvoyance, like the visual aspect of it. And he was seeing the two bridges and the river. And so, for context, you guys, when you see a bridge, that's like the metaphor of like crossing over. That's why they say, specifically when like pets pass away, people say, oh, you know, my fur baby crossed over the rainbow bridge, the river has a lot to do with like the afterlife, and he saw specifically two. So I was like, okay, so it's two spirits. That's very interesting. I wonder what that means. But there was also people in the shop, maybe like one person, but they were talking, both the owner or both the manager and the guy were talking. And so it's kind of distracting at times too. Um, so like in these situations, like we definitely like to be in more of like a quiet place where we can like meditate. But I didn't want to be like command the attention of the room when there's someone that's like either shopping or talking to the manager. I just didn't want to do that distraction there. So I was like, that's interesting. The other thing too that like my guides and I kept like feeling was the couch in the very far back corner. There was like a cheetah on top of it, and I was like, there's something off about this couch, and I feel it. And that's not the first time I felt something off with couch. Like there's another video we did over on something scary. It's on my YouTube playlist. I went to the house that they filmed Vecna's house in Stranger Things, and there was also another haunted couch in there. But this one, it looked also very eerily similar as well. I'm like, okay, I'm like, and I'm talking to my guides. I'm like, are you sure there's something off? And like my guide's like, yep, there's an energy there. And for context, like I do mediumship, but I do it in places that I feel like I can cleanse and protect. And I like to normally channel and do mediumship with my guides. I never like to directly communicate to spirits because that's a whole story in itself. So anyway, so I'm like, there's nothing off with the couch. So then later we like talk to the owner on the phone, or I'm talking to the owner, and she's telling me the stories of these things. And the manager did tell me the story as well. She wasn't sure about the couch, but so the owner told me that the couch got either an estate sale or someone donated to her. I can't remember right now, but again, I want her on the podcast so we can talk more about the stuff. So she'd said that the couch belonged to this lady who died 3 years after her husband passed on the anniversary and the same time that her husband passed away, which was very eerie, but I was picking up on that. And yeah, they both told me the story of the two Raggedy Ann dolls. So the two Raggedy Ann dolls were in the same room when, trigger warning, you guys, killing, murder, all this stuff, just trigger warning. So the two Raggedy Ann dolls were in the room when the husband, decided to murder his wife and then kill himself and try to set the house on fire, but was unsuccessful with the setting the house on fire. I want to do another podcast with just her and her journey on this. So this will be a continuum of this. So if you're on the podcast, yeah, you're getting a glimpse of it. So anyway, so she was saying that, and that I guess either like their daughter or a family member, they held on to the dolls and they just couldn't handle it anymore. So now the dolls are forever going to be in that drawer, or the dolls do get removed from their, well, they have crystals in their pockets. They do a whole blessing thing on it. But if they're removed from the drawer area, they get put in these like metal boxes or something like that. So there's this whole process on these dolls. And in addition to that, the other two dolls that I was pointing out, like the monkey and I think like the little drummer boy or something like that, they were saying that one of them, well, I don't think it was a drummer boy, and I should have taken a picture. But for another thing too, guys, I didn't take a picture because I felt like I did not have permission to take photos, like from the spirits. Like they did not want photos taken at that time. Like they were just very much like, we know that you guys are intuitives. But yeah, no, thank you right now. So I'm going to try to work with their energy more and see what's happening there. Anyway, so I didn't take a picture of it, but again, I'll do a whole video on TikTok and Instagram on this, like a follow-up. But you guys are hearing it first from me and the whole process of what happened on that day. So I didn't take a picture. I felt really off about it. I talked to the owner. She's explaining that story, and then she also says that the other two dolls. So one of them, I think, was in a a mental facility. It belonged to somebody in a mental facility, and the other one belonged to like some type of slave thing. I don't know. Very tragic stuff. But we'll probably elaborate this more at a later date with the owner because I want to have her on the podcast and we can talk about that. But yeah, we're going to be doing like a paranormal workshop, hopefully there soon, and you'll hear more. So this is going to be like a continuum of all of that. So before we end this, um, also, if you guys want me to do more spooky stories on Strange Supernatural Sundays, make sure that you write to me. I'm going to have the email in the description. Share your spooky story at gmail.com. And I will be looking forward to sharing your stories on the podcast. And I will give you a shout out and everything. And any other requests that you have with the story, happy to talk about via email. And yeah, that's all I have. So I'm going to end it here. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure that you give me 5 stars as this will help push out to the right people and we can get higher quality content over here on the podcast side. And without further ado, remember, guys, stay strange.